You are listening to the Bright Life Podcast, all about ways to stay inspired, chase your dreams, and find more gratitude in the highs and lows of the journey. I'm your host, Jessica Johnson. I'm a business owner, a part-time digital nomad, a self-growth junkie, a believer in other big-hearted women, and am all about sharing tips, tricks, lessons learned, and encouragement so we can all live our biggest, brightest lives. You ready? Let's do this. Hi, beautiful. Welcome to today's episode. Now, this is for you if you've ever thought to yourself, I would love to be able to insert whatever your thing is, whether it's to write a book or start a business or launch a podcast or even travel somewhere new. But as soon as you have that thought, your brain follows it up with, but I don't know how to do that. Okay, if you've ever thought that to yourself, this is the episode for you. This is really going to shift and offer you a reframe for that belief so that you don't have to be held back by it anymore, and you can really feel after this episode that you can get out there and you can get the information or the resources or the support that you need to figure it out and make it happen. Okay? So here's something that really helped me, because I used to think that too. I used to have this thought of like, well, I'd love to have a blog or a YouTube channel or a podcast or a million other things, but I don't know how. And that kept me stuck for so many months and years. And there's this magic point in time when if you can get out there and start doing the thing that's on your heart before everyone else figures out how to do it, it's kind of like this sweet spot in YouTubing and podcasting and blogging where you're really at an advantage, because not only are you putting something out into the world before most people are figuring it out, but you're learning what you need to know. You are able to get started sooner. You're able to get your work into the world sooner, meet the humans you want to serve sooner. You're able to make an income sooner. And so you don't want to waste that. You don't want to sit in that spot where for months or for years you're thinking of doing the thing and you're just stuck because you don't know how to do it. Because that's such a small issue, really. We live in this age when you can learn anything, you can figure anything out. It's no longer like you have to go to the library to look up a topic. And when I was young, there was like this Dewey Decimal System and you had to get out like this card box to go find the book. It's not like that anymore. Some of the women who are listening who are younger than me are probably like, what are you talking about? But you can look up anything online these days and you can find the experts and the resources that will help you. So here's what I want to share with you and just help you reframe today. If you don't know how to do something because you've never done it before, that actually makes perfect sense. No one knows how to do something until they do it, until they figure it out. So it doesn't make you disqualified to not know how to do something just because you haven't done it. That is actually exactly the most normal order of things. But what it means is you've got to go and learn how to do the thing in order to actually do it. And then you'll have that knowledge and it'll be yours forever. So I'll include an example from this summer. My husband and I, we had this dream, and we've had it for a long time, of being able to work and live abroad. It was like, every time we go overseas in the summertime, we always want to stay longer. We drag out our flights for as long as we possibly can so that we can just enjoy and travel and see the world. And because we, have businesses that we can do from anywhere, and make sure you check out my show notes if you want to learn more about that path. But it just was something where it was really just a matter of figuring out how do we do that. And so what we did was just like anyone else. We were beginners again. We had no idea about visa requirements or which countries would let you do that, or how to get a digital nomad visa, and how to find a place that you could stay for an extended period of time. And so it was really a matter of just figuring it out. And we did a little bit of looking online And once we learned everything we could from that, we realized we really needed a little bit more information. And so we figured out, okay, are there lawyers who you can consult with for an hour or so? And it turns out there was. And so we got on the phone with a lawyer for an hour, and they gave us a ton more information. And that provided the next step. And from then we were able to see, okay, well, that makes some countries possible and others not. So great, we've narrowed it down a little. Let's go check out these countries and these cities, and we'll find the one that we love the most. And on it went. And then we had this amazing summer where we were able to get a digital nomad visa and work and live overseas, and just this whole life has been created from it, right? Where now that dream that felt like this long shot and this big murky unknown is now so doable. And I want to share that because it's like that whether it's traveling, whether it's starting a podcast or writing a book. That is the same pattern that you and me and anyone else will encounter for any dream. Any big dream that you have probably feels a little bit murky to you right now. Probably feels like this big, vague shape thing that you can kind of see, but it's like confusing and it's not really like the form isn't completely there. And that's because you haven't filled in all the little details that make it crystal clear and that tell you this is what's next. So remember, you're not going to know how to do something until you do it. And if that's what's holding you back, then you just need to list out what information you need to complete your next step. So as another example, when I was dreaming of self-publishing a book, I didn't know what the steps were. I'd never published a book before. I didn't honestly even know someone close to me that had self-published a book before. So what I did is I went and I found a few experts who did. I purchased a few courses. That's why I'm such a big fan of courses, because they save you decades of time and money and heartache that someone else has already gone through to condense it down to an 8-week time period, right? I purchase courses for everything because I just see it as such an investment and kind of a shortcut to save me the time, save me the money that someone else spent learning it the long, hard way. So I purchased a few courses, and from Gabby Bernstein, from Amanda Francis, some authors that I admire, and I learned a ton from them. That gave me the next steps to realize, okay, here's my process for writing. So I learned that. Once I saw that, I realized I needed to research some editors. And so I went and I looked online, and that's the best thing I could figure out for how to do it until I found some potential editors. I also consulted the courses that I'd purchased and saw if they had any recommendations. So that led me to the editor. And on and on and on it went until somehow, lo and behold, a year or so later, a book is published. But starting a year before, I had no idea what it would look like. I just was able to look at it and say, this dream is big enough for me to believe that I can figure it out. This dream is big enough for me to trust in myself that I can put one foot in front of the other, step by step, until I walk myself to that dream. And you can do the same. You really, really can. It's it's like a boring excuse now to be like, I can't figure that out. Like, we live in the internet age. You now have AI, you have ChatGPT, where you could go into ChatGPT for free and say, how would I do this? And it will write out an entire essay for you, a bulleted list of exactly what to do to conquer something, to reach that dream. You can go on Google, you can go on YouTube, you can listen to podcasts, you can consult with anyone in your life that you know who may have done something similar before. You can hire an expert, right? Because I think sometimes we're like, oh, but there's like this upfront cost in a course or hiring a mentor or paying for a consultant for an hour. And it's like, if they can take hours of time that it would take you to figure this out online, and they can condense it into an hour so you get there faster, so your dream gets out in the world faster, so you start making money faster, isn't that worth it? It's such a small cost compared to how much time it can save you, to how much it can make you in that window of time that you would have still been like searching online trying to piece everything together yourself, right? So the big takeaway is, it doesn't matter the amount of resources. It doesn't matter how far behind you are, how non-techy you are, any of that stuff. Of course, you don't know how to do something until you do it, until you learn. And you can learn and you can find a way. So whatever that dream is, whether it's to launch a podcast, whether it's to publish your own book, whether it's to get hired by a traditional publisher, whether it's to travel the world, whether it's to move to a foreign country, whatever that dream on your heart is that just gives you that glimmer of excitement, it is so possible for you. And it makes sense if you're feeling like you don't know how to do it. You've never done it before. But the way to bridge that gap is to get out there and to do it, and to start taking action, and to fill in those gaps with the support and people and resources and research that you need to make it happen. And you may make some missteps. That's okay. I've made missteps in everything I've ever done. There's always been a misstep somewhere, but that's not a failure. I've mentioned before Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx, and how when she used to go home from school, at the dinner table, her father would ask the children, "Sarah, how did you feel today?" And for her, what that taught her is the true failure isn't actually failing, isn't falling short of her goal. The true failure was actually not having anything that she had tried, that she had learned that day. And so I just want to offer that to you as well, that like, if you're stuck in this fear around failing or taking a misstep or doing something wrong, you probably will, and it's okay. You can have the self-trust that you would figure it out even if you made a mistake. Even if you made a really big mistake, you could figure it out. You would still be here standing in your own body, in your own life, and you would be able to figure out a way to start getting out of that mistake. Okay, so I hope that this just offers you a little bit of excitement and positivity around you can do this. And you not knowing how to do something does not disqualify you from your dream. It does not count you out. You cannot sit on the sidelines or take the bus home yet. Like, you have got to get out there and figure out how, and really just give yourself the grace and permission that it makes sense if you don't know how. It's okay. That's totally fine. That's part of this game. You're going to figure it out, and you're going to look back in a year's time and be like, I had no idea how to do that thing, and I figured it out, and I still did it, and it was amazing. And you're going to be on to even bigger dreams and the next steps that have come from being brave and pursuing this life that really lights you up and that you desire. Okay? So get out there. DM me on Instagram if you want me to be in it with you, and tell me, what that dream is. I'm more than happy to support you in it. But thank you so much for being here, and I will see you next week as you continue to pursue your biggest, brightest life. Thank you so much for listening in. If you love this episode, I have 2 things you are going to love. One is a free copywriter training full of 5 steps to build a profitable copywriting business as your own boss, no matter how much experience you're starting with. Copywriting is what took me from a 9-to-5 to freedom as my own boss, to travel, choose my schedule, replace my corporate income, and have time to work on creative projects like this podcast. And I'd love to give other women the same opportunity. Another, of course, is my book, Your Bright Life. You can find it on Amazon or Audible, where I narrate the audiobook, so it's kind of like a podcast in book form. All of these things are in the podcast show notes. Thank you again for listening. I appreciate you and your review so much, and I'll see you back here next Thursday.